Hi, welcome to the second episode of season 2 of Impact Effectively. And I'm calling this season Impacts Around the World because I'm speaking to friends from around the world to find out how they are making an impact in their community. I'm Florence Madden. I'm an NLP trainer and coach based in Cumbria in the north of England. I'm also the author of a book called The Intention Impact Conundrum and the co-author with my guest today of a book called Everyday NLP. So I am especially thrilled to introduce Eleni Sarantanu, say my co-author, who is in Haarlem. And I'll let her do her own introductions and talk about how she is making an impact. So over to you, Eleni.
Thank you, Florenzula. Thank you so much for giving us all these chances. First of all, let me introduce what Haarlem is, because there are a lot of Haarlems. And Haarlem is in the Netherlands, very close to Amsterdam. And of course, it has to do with, the New York one, that were people from this Haarlem, where I am right now, that went to New York, that was back then New Amsterdam. And as history was written, the Dutch eventually gave it to the British. And they, got Suriname instead. That's how the history is written. So that's what I am, talking about impact and how such decisions impact the world. Florence, you just, brought up this amazing question to the surface yet again. Just before, we agree to meet up today. And it's always a powerful question. And as I do, I lingered a little bit how I can transform the question for myself to make it more powerful. I didn't even look for an answer first. So the first question was like, how have I in the past thought of actually be making a difference in the world? And this has been changing from a decade to decade. So in the beginning, I don't know, my 20s, my 30s, I thought by making myself very intelligent and collecting a lot of certificates and getting a good salary and making my family proud. And then, of course, you always have to think about contribution. So I definitely had the gene also of a savior and helping the poor and the needy and the sick. And God knows I was one of them in many ways, but there's always people that have less or need more than specific time. So a very favorite time that I was extremely conscious and extremely involved that I'm just going to choose to share during our time here was the decade in Malaysia. In Malaysia for 10 years, I mean, there's greater need, you would think, in a way. The numbers there are big. It's a different thing when you have needs in Greece, but we have 10 million people, and different needs when you have China with 1.5 billion, or India with 1.5 billion, or Malaysia with 70 million. There you feel the beat. There it's unavoidable. It's just part of your life. So what did I do? Like probably many expats, as we know, don't go for the expat definition of, you see it like Mrs. or Mr. Gatsby having the great life. No, you just still work and you have to earn your salary. But because the needs are in front of your eyes, you're more inclined to participate in all kinds of associations, all kinds of efforts to educate the poor, the refugees, go to the orphanages. So a lot of my work there was that I did go to a lot of orphanages. My kids have been adopted from Cambodia. So we have been to orphanages. we know for decades now how they look, how they operate, what they need, the smiles of the children when you enter, and even when they don't speak English, the impact just of your presence and your smile and your hug and your kiss, the human contact, it's just phenomenal, the difference you can make this way. So did I go to hospitals in Malaysia? I did. Did I go to organizations of refugees? Did I teach anything I could, English and mathematics and history to refugees, especially from Myanmar, Burma, in the old days, that basically is the #1 refugee nationality in Malaysia. Absolutely. Did I work with women who had been abused and they were in nowhere land because they were escaping maybe from Korea, North Korea, or Myanmar itself, or Laos, or whatever, or their visas had expired. You can keep your self busy, and to the extent I could, I did. So am I proud of that? Yes and no. I didn't necessarily do it to be proud. I did it because you do it, because it just gives you so much, and because it's just so clear that when you can give, just give, because it's the way it is. It's your breathing system. You sleep better at night.
Yeah.
You feel very accomplished. Last year, even during Corona, I flew to Kigali in Rwanda, and I had the luck, and I've had much luck in this sense with so many different organizations in Asia anyway, but Kigali was, again, it happened to be a group who came to one of my NLP practitioners that was so massively 90–80% people who worked for Doctors Without Borders or the United Nations, any kind of these big organizations. So the people had the same profile, doing everything, literally sacrificing themselves, giving their lives, every living hour, because Africa, I mean, it is a big question mark. Why would Africa still have an issue with the resources it has? Latin America, the year just a few months before, Rwanda had been in Chile. And as soon as I left, there was a huge political upset again, that threw the whole economy on. I had met people who were in big organizations there as well. And what I basically concluded to make an impact effectively, and especially in 2021 and moving onwards, is that being necessarily a savior or a good-hearted person who gives some of their money or some of their time is not the winning recipe. Because there are so many in the world, the problems would have disappeared already. I'm convinced of that. The problems seem to perpetuate. And then Corona came along just to give me that extra conviction that the issues of inequality are so much deeper in us. And to me, it really has to do with taking care of yourself. And that is point blank, like that, touchdown. You don't have to leave your house, if you will, to make an impact. And I don't mean that you have to then be on social media. It's all about showing more compassion to yourself. Telepathically connect your heart with as many hearts of your friends and enemies as you can. Anybody who blessed you and helped you, send them love. Anyone who upset you or you think they don't mean well, send them love. And by all means, shield in a nice way yourself. And it all comes down to boundaries. So one phenomenon to me about people who traditionally want to make a difference in the world is that they go a little bit soul naked out there. But it's really like, you know, the story that, yeah, I'm just saving as much fish as I can one by one, but that can't make the difference. We wish it was, it's a nice thought. Yeah, but I could at least save that one. Sure. Whatever, you know, I will still go to orphanages. I will still do, you know, but it will take a little bit more to have an effective impact. And that has to, with more love to ourselves and get out. If this is my big message to myself, more than anything, to get out of the sacrificial direction we're all running on and move to more compassion for ourselves, more empowerment, more like, all right, what can I do better for myself? How can I fill this vessel with more acceptance, with more joy? And I don't mean pleasure. I mean, with beautiful wisdom and compassion. How can I grow inside? And the most important, how can I reconnect myself more with nature? And you are a great example to model, because you have these beautiful dogs and animals of all sorts. Do a podcast on your own, interview yourself. You know how you do it. I'll be happy to do it for you.
No, do that.
And you live in this amazing environment. So being in an office 16 hours trying to save Africa, I have my doubts. You also need to be able to go and find your favorite tree and touch it and connect with the earth and take responsibility for your share, even if it's 0.0000000, I don't know, do the math with the 7.5 billion we all are, and connect with the planets, connect telepathically, and find your own center and look more in the mirror. And that makes sure that your energy levels get to flow. And when your energy levels get to flow, you basically take care of the person that was entrusted by this very friendly universe in the first place. And then you can move mountains just by the comfort of your living room. So that's what I wanted to share today.
There was a few things that occurred to me as you were speaking. And, you know, in our book, we included that poem by Susie Kassem. And I think the message of that poem is very much what you're saying about people finding peace within themselves and creating that environment, not necessarily looking to save the world, but save yourself to start with, and you're in a much stronger position to create an environment that is healthy for other people as well as for yourself. But it starts with you rather than that self-sacrifice. The other thing, and, you know, again, when we were writing the book, we had this discussion about that meta program, self and other. And it's interesting that in our language, to say that someone is selfish is a pejorative word. It's a critical word, when in fact, just listening to you, that completely puts in context the fact that when we are looking after ourselves and self-care, we create an environment that is healthy for other people as well. And I think that's a really eloquent way of saying there are ways of helping other people, and not just the giving or the time, and those things are important, but also what are you creating right at the center.
Absolutely. And I share it very often nowadays, and thank you for giving me the cue. Taking care of yourself is the absolute unconditional love, especially in relationship with others.
Yeah.
That's when your bucket is full and you have so much to give. And if I may, I'm just going to add here a little bit of embraining. You know, it's the newer course that I'm introducing also with life spheres. With
You might need to just explain a wee bit what embraining is, because I'm aware
it's really the old wisdom that we know, you know, for thousands of years, and neuroscience, and they all meet basically the perfect marriage. And it really has to do with the alignment of our three brains we now know we have, which is the head, the heart, and the intestines. And a very important thing is that the intestines hold our identity and our boundaries. And this is something to take into great consideration. And the moment you step out on statistics, on your heart, to just go and help Africa or help Asia, not necessarily take into consideration what your intestines can do for you, or keeping your own boundaries beautifully clear for everyone and in all areas in your life, in every way, in every life sphere, might have been missed because we didn't know. So, and one more thing that came to me when I heard you about being selfish and all that, and it's one thing that Brennan is talking about is the prime, the basic, sorry, too many languages, it has been, I forget even the English one. Basically, yeah, it's basic functions or something. You have many, many terms, but it's that when we are into our center energetically, say the sympathetic system is in coherence with the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is our fight or flight mechanism, which literally we shouldn't be using much because it's only when a tiger chases you. Unfortunately, we do use it a lot because we wake up from morning to night and we think that constantly a deadline is the tiger.
Yeah.
So we get exhausted energetically. But when this is at bay and in great coherence with the parasympathetic, which is when, you know, we really enjoy life, basically, we're calm, etc., etc. When they are beautifully in balance, that's when magic happens in the whole world, and everybody we think about, they're going to be doing well. So there's your impact. Just sit, meditate, bring these two in balance, make sure that you do your breath work every day, connect, there's your impact. And one of these abilities, let's say, is to know that love is when you have that. As soon as you go to the sympathetic, love could be neediness. When the sympathetic gets the upper hand, you lose it. If you go the other side, it might mean like, oh, I can never save them all. Or I love everybody too much, you know, but I don't know, it's too much to bear. So you might go to a level of procrastination or don't know what to do with this. So that nice coherent state of balance becomes like, oh, well, I can't love you more. I don't know how to fix your life. So I just give up, I'll watch. So it's very important when you talk about these concepts and selfishness to dig a little bit more and grow. So yeah, start with our book. There are so many books. Just grab any, and I just hope people grow nowadays intellectually and 80% in nice recommended experiential trainings where you reconnect with you by chatting, sharing with other people, and being in nature.
Yeah, interestingly, I had some feedback recently from a course delegate who did their NLP business practitioner with me, and she talked so eloquently about her personal journey. I can't talk about what her reasons were for coming on the course. What surprised her was that ability to reconnect with herself and to feel that peace within herself. And in doing that, she said, I feel as if I can do so much better in my job, with my family. But, I guess the same message, but in a different, but just said in different words, that opportunity to take time and to reconnect with herself was what was going to be transformative, what has been transformative with her husband and family, but also in her work as well. And in that way, that connectedness to herself is already having an impact with the people that she works with and in her community. So I think that's another kind of verification, if indeed that was needed, of what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that's how we wrote our book, Florence, isn't it? Where you finish, I start, and where I start, you finish, and all over again. So you'll give me another 30 seconds because I have to grab this. This is too much of a jewel. And that's what the corona pandemic is all about. Right now, if you are in a wealthy country, you are not safe. And that's the whole thing. It's the nature telling you we share the same planet, and forget about it. You can't just hide and think like, oh, okay, I got it better than the other one. We're all in this together. And I do think the worst thing you can do is indulge in social media, taking sides or exchanging or sticking to your opinion and remain polarized, even if you really believe 100%. Just get the message, and the message is what you said. Get in peace with yourself. And I would say, do your meditation, go find the tree, go find the river, touch some flowers, hug someone, and make sure you grow in ways they didn't teach you at school.
That's a lovely message. Thank you. And thank you for reinforcing that. So thank you to those of you that have been watching or listening. And of course, thank you to Eleni. I could talk to Eleni all day and listen to her wisdom. I hope you've all enjoyed that. If people want to find out more about Eleni, her website will be on the paragraph that follows this. Is there anything you want to add to that, Eleni, in terms of how people might contact you?
No, I just want to add that I love you and thank you for being my friend.
Thank you. I love you right back. So I hope some of you watching or listening to this have felt some of that as well. So information about finding out more about Eleni will be on her website, as I say, will be in the paragraph that follows this. And my website is www. There's a lot of W's in there, florencemadden.co.uk. So thank you for watching or listening, and join me next week to find out where I am then. Bye for now.